behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, the Hanover Eagle, New Jersey Hills Media Group, and the Morris County NAACP, I am pleased to welcome you to our Forum Township Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Barbara Cooper-Smith. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters in the Morristown area. I'm going to say LWV, but the League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and we influence public policy through education and advocacy. Empowering voters, defending democracy is our mission. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. We envision a democracy where everyone has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League, as a nonpartisan organization, never supports or opposes political parties or candidates. Membership in the League is open to people 16 years and older of all gender identities. Anyone, though, can volunteer, whether or not you're a member. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. Partnering with the League in presenting this forum, we welcome and thank Brett Friedenson, I hope, of the Hanover Eagle, New Jersey Hills Media Group, and Vanessa Brown of the Morris County NAACP for working with us. Vanessa, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Barbara and the League of Women Voters. Good evening, everybody. My name is Vanessa Brown. I am the president of the Morris County branch of the NAACP and the third vice president for the New Jersey State Conference of the NAACP. And what that does is it allows me to basically take care of Region 1, which is the north part of New Jersey. I have 14 presidents that are, I can't say under me, but beside me. I'm beside them, and we take care of these civil rights issues. NAACP was founded in 1909 by a percentage of 70% of white abolitionists and about 30 African Americans who got sick and tired of the lynchings that were going on, and therefore they got together because it was just so many lynchings going on. They got together and they formed the NAACP. From that, you had W.E. Du Bois and all together to bring about this organization. And basically it's for the upliftment in education, housing, criminal justice across the spectrum because of the disparities in the outcomes. And it is for the advancement and upliftment of colored people, and for quite frankly, it's for all people. When an African American is getting justice, it really does help everyone. So we're happy to partner in a lot of the opportunities because voting is a civil right that we would like to maintain, and as well as equity in our communities. And so I applaud you all for being here to have this forum, to not take it, just ignore the community who have questions and would like answers, and basically to let them be engaged in the political process. We're the oldest, the boldest, and the baddest civil rights organization in America, and we are nonpartisan but very political. Again, we applaud you, and we applaud everybody in the audience and who are watching this to be engaged in our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. And now I will turn this over to Brett from the Hanover Eagle.
Thank you. My name is Brett Friedenson. I'm the editor of the Hanover Eagle, part of the New Jersey Hills Media Group and 14 local newspapers in and around Morris County. The Hanover Eagle has been Hanover and East Hanover's hometown source of independent news for more than 65 years. If you're not familiar with what we do, I encourage you to visit hanovereagle.com or find us in storefronts in town and consider subscribing to our paper. Our mission is to provide in-depth and balanced coverage of all things Hanover and East Hanover, including coverage of events such as this forum tonight. We provide extensive coverage of this school district and the borough government, township government, excuse me, but more important, the stories of the many individuals who make up these towns and the issues that affect them. As of just this year, we have converted to nonprofit status under our new parent company, the locally owned Corporation for New Jersey Local Media. The organization was founded to ensure the survival and growth of the Hanover Eagle and sister newspapers so that we may sustain and improve upon our tradition of providing quality local news from trained journalists at a time when local news outlets are disappearing across the country. We are honored to partner with the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area to co-sponsor this forum. The League and the Hanover Eagle share a core common mission to inform and engage residents on the local issues that affect their everyday lives. An informed electorate is an empowered electorate, and we thank the League for all our 4 candidates tonight for their commitment to keeping the public informed. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brett and Vanessa. We're grateful to your organizations for your nonpartisan participation and support, and we look forward to continuing our work together. So we encourage everyone to go to Vote 411, which is vote411.org. It's a League website, and we've asked all the candidates to, throughout the county, especially throughout New Jersey and the United States, to put some information up there so you can find information about voting, you can find information about candidates, and then also please visit our website, lwvmorrisarea.org, and then the New Jersey State League is lwvnj.org. And you will see the latest in voting concerns, our activities, all kinds of things, and all the forums conducted in all of New Jersey can be viewed on the NJ website and also on our website. And this forum is being live streamed on the Morristown area LWV YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterward. We don't take it down. You can see last year's even. We encourage the sharing of the League's recording of the event, but in its entirety. We do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording. And tonight, please silence your phones and refrain from taking photos or videos during the forum and doing any social media during the forum. The League name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in a way that can lead or rate a viewer or reader to infer League support of or opposition to a candidacy. So I just want to let you know about a couple of events. First, we'll have a table outside if anybody needs information about voting, if anybody needs information about, they need a form, or a college student needs a vote by mail application. And we are doing Morris County Coming Out Day this Saturday. That's in Morristown by the courthouse. Madison Bottle Hill Day, which was rescheduled to Saturday, October 15th. And then Get to Know Florham Park, which is Saturday, October 15th also. So at this time, I would like to introduce a moderator, Vicki Sidro. I hope I said that one right. Vicki's a League trained moderator, and she's not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Hi, good evening, everyone in the audience and at home watching tonight. November 8th is Election Day. Right now we have mail-in voting, early voting, where you could actually walk to the polls and vote on November 8th. In either case, you will have the opportunity to vote for 3 individuals for 3-year terms for your Board of Education. While there's 7 candidates running, we have 4 tonight. so I welcome them. And they are Timothy Cullen, Evan Markinson, Patricia Mattia, and Catherine McSorley. The forum will go till 8:30, and the format's broken into 3 sections, so I'll discuss the timelines as we go through. We have sitting here helping us, league person, Annette, who's going to be keeping us on time. 30-second warning sign and a red stop sign. You can finish a sentence. Please respect the time. So here we go. We're going to do opening remarks, 1.5 minutes in alphabetical order. So Mr. Cullen, you have 1.5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for putting this forum together, and I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to attend in person or to watch online. My wife and I moved to Cedar Knolls 6 years ago to raise our family. We have 3 children, ages 7, 5, and 1, with the oldest 2 proudly attending Mount View Road School. I am running for the Hanover Township Board of Education because I saw an opportunity to use my unique perspective and skill set to benefit my community. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and master's degrees in educational leadership and forensic science. I spent the first 11 years of my professional career as a high school science teacher, along with football and track and field coach. While I have transitioned from teaching into the business world, I still enjoy volunteering for our children in town as a coach for Tigers football, Little League, and soccer. I know what it's like to be a teacher in the classroom, and I also know what it's like to be a parent that wants the absolute best for your children. I am disheartened at the partisan politicization of the school board and the divisiveness that seems to emanate throughout our town. One example of that being the challenge it has been to simply get all 7 candidates together at a forum such as this. One of the main pillars of my campaign is listening to and working with all different types of people and groups, not just those that have the same views as me. Some of the primary areas of focus for my campaign include, I'll read the first one, I just got the stop sign. Retaining and attracting high quality teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Markinson, 1.5.
All right, hi, good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I do, of course, want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this together tonight. We appreciate it very much. It's great for us and for our community. I'm Evan Markinson. I've been a resident of Whippany since 2007. I reside with my wife and my 2 kids that go to Bee Meadow and a various amount of pets. We chose to move to Hanover because, we heard it was a great town. Great community, low taxes, great schools. And you know what? It hasn't disappointed. It certainly lives up to the hype. A few years ago, 3 years ago now, 3+, I kind of dove in the deep end, so to speak, in support of our schools as our BMS PTA president. It's been an amazing experience. I've been able to reach out and connect with so many people in support of our children, our staff, our community, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But now, with the Board of Education, I see a new opportunity to support our entire district and our entire community. So I am no armchair quarterback. I do like to dig in, right? I've got 3 ways that I like to do it: embrace challenges, engage others, and then evolve what we're doing. I will advocate for all of our students. I believe in our teachers, I believe in our schools, and I will represent the greater needs of our community on the Board of Education. As we embrace all these challenges, we do want to focus on things like the regionalization concerns, the buildings and facilities concerns, and I will help address all those things. I'm stopped.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to address our community and for the NAACP and Hanover Hills paper for co-sponsoring. My name's Trish Mattia, and I've lived in the Cedar Knolls section of Hanover Township for 33 years. I've served on the Board of Education for 16 years, this current year as president. And with your support, I hope to continue my work. My years on the board, extensive board training, and active participation in the community provides me with a unique skill set to both listen to the public and understand their concerns and desires for their schools, while working within state-mandated educational frameworks. I am committed to the board's goal to be a common-sense district that fosters excellence while promoting digital learning and citizenship. I seek to promote a nurturing environment in our schools so our children and teachers can excel and achieve their personal best. As a mother of 4 children who were educated in our schools, I know the value of our educational system and our teachers. Our schools are the bedrock of our community and the gateway for our students' successes. I recognize the importance of staying on the cutting edge and offering our students innovative academic experiences while being fiscally responsible to our community. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley, 1.5 minutes.
I'm not used to microphones. Can you hear me? Thank you again to the league for being our host this evening. And before I start, let me say everything that I say tonight is my own personal opinion and not that of the Hanover Township Board of Education. My name is Katie McSorley. I'm a resident of Hanover for over 20 years. My 3 children have attended Mount View and MJS. I'm a career public servant with 29 years of service, and I was also an adjunct lecturer at FDU for 19 years. I have degrees in geography from Boston University and Hunter College, CUNY. Volunteering is a part of who I am. As a youth soccer coach, scout leader, president of a nonprofit professional organization, along with multiple roles at the MTV PTA, each of these roles I took on to make an impact. I've always sought to set goals and motivate the team to achieve them. I was appointed late last year to fill an empty seat on the board, and I'm running for a full 3-year term. We have a wonderful school district that helps draw people to our community, but we have work to do here. Assessing and supporting student growth and achievement over the last 2 years, providing students and staff with what they need in the area of social and emotional wellness, and taking a critical look at our facilities to prepare the district for future growth. I hope for those of you who do not know me, that tonight's questions will give you some insight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next section. There are a lot of questions that came in over our social media, so I want to thank everybody who sent those in, as well as a few questions I just received from the live audience. Each candidate, all questions are for each candidate. Each candidate gets 1 minute to respond, but you also each have, the option of a 30-second rebuttal. So it's a 1 minute response to the question. First question. What skills and relevant experience do you bring to the Board of Education? Please talk about what distinguishes you from the other candidates. Ms. Mattia, 1 minute, please. Mike?
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So I've been on the board for 16 years. I have extensive training and experience dealing with all kinds of issues for the community and, what was the second part?
Skills and experience you bring and what distinguishes you.
Okay. And so I have a background in corporate finance and then about 14 years in the educational field. So I am very familiar with what this community wants. We are a great community. We enjoy our low taxes and our great school system, and we really want to continue moving in that direction, hopefully working collaboratively together as a board to enhance our students' successes.
Thank you. Mr. Collin, 1 minute.
Sure. So a lot of the skills that I have that I think carry over to being on the Board of Ed has to do with my background and my professional experience. As I mentioned in my intro, spending the first 11 years of my career as a teacher, and some of the skills there, I made a point to mention coaching as well, because I think that's important in terms of teamwork and working collaboratively. And I think that's something that's important for board members. And also the experience, I have my master's degree in educational leadership, which is a certification for administration within schools. So I understand kind of the ins and outs of how schools run, how they work on the day-to-day, what the teachers are going through on the day-to-day. And then I also have the perspective on the other side as now having a second grader and a kindergartner in the school district. And that's what kind of prompted me when I started going to the board meetings. I felt compelled to get involved.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
Thank you. Having been an employee in the public sector for 29 years teaches you a lot of lessons that are very relevant to a school district. I've been working in a collaborative system with many differing views. We are constantly learning. Even my position on the board has only been a short tenure, but the constant NJSBA units that we have to take in terms of sportsmanship training and other things to help us learn how to be a better board member, and other committees that I've been participating on with the board, I feel provide a good basis for my candidacy.
Thank you. Mr. Markinson, 1 minute.
Great, thank you. So skills and experience, right? So, I do value education quite a bit, both the, sciences and arts and music. It's been a big part of my life. I hold 2 masters as well in computer engineering and business administration. So education is a big part, all right, of our lives. What I bring outside of that is maybe 2 or 3-fold. From a professional perspective, I work a lot in collaborating with many people and bringing together multiple different stakeholders to kind of come together with a good solution that's going to suit everyone. And I think that's really critical for our Board of Education with the various stakeholders we have. We have our teachers, we have our children, we have our greater community. And in addition, it's super important to acknowledge people and what their needs are and be able to work with them, right? So being able to pull people together and really understand their needs and just work with them, right? Let's not berate people, let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add a 30-second rebuttal to that question? No. Okay, second question. What do you feel is the most critical issue facing the Hanover Township School District today? Why, and how would you address it if elected? Ms. McSorley?
The most critical issue, I believe, is the a little bit nervous. Assessing and supporting our children. These last 2 years have really done a number on how our students are handling the workload and socialization back in school. We have benchmarking programs in place, and we need to assess properly and provide the supports that these children need in order for them to make up any learning gaps that they currently have. I think that it's really important to support them emotionally as well as academically in their success.
Thank you, Mr. Markinson. 1 minute.
Thank you. So I think our biggest challenges moving forward are really going to be able to continue to meet the kind of extended needs of academic needs of our children within our community. And it's going to be driven by 2 things. One is the learning gap caused by COVID, and the other is going to be by the additional development that we're seeing in town and making sure that we have all the resources available to continue to meet the needs of all the children in our town. So some of these things we can address faster than others. And we need to put some long-term thought into how we're going to continue to be the excellent district that we're all accustomed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mattia. 1
Yeah,
minute.
so there's a few pressing issues I feel, but I want to address the learning challenges that occurred over the 18 months of the COVID disruption, look at the data on student achievement and benchmarks used should determine areas the district should target, and I would look to our director of curriculum and the trained educators to make these suggestions. Would also like to investigate additional enhancements and support in the area of social emotional wellness for the entire district, faculty, students, staff, and administrators. It's important to make sure we're offering what is needed to keep all keep an all-around wellness in our community on top of the discounted gym memberships they offer, professional development for staff, et cetera, and our character education plan. Finally, as Evan said, I'd also like to address the many residential building projects. Due to these approvals by the township, we may experience dramatic growth in the number of students, and we need to do some facility. We're already doing facility analysis to see where we can fit everyone, and it's a good opportunity to evaluate all our structures and facilities again to determine if they meet the needs of the potential growth.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Sure, so kind of to piggyback on everyone else's comments, I think all those things are important issues facing the Board of Ed, and I kind of want to get to the core of all those issues, and really the schools can't run and the schools can't function and the schools can't do all those things that we're talking about them doing without high quality teachers and retaining those teachers and attracting those teachers to come to our district. And that's something that is a challenge nowadays for all districts, not just Hanover. And so the question becomes, well, how do we do that? And I think at least part of it, there's certainly not, I don't think one simple answer, everyone would have that answer, but I think part of it comes from the tone that is set from the Board of Ed, and that teachers understand this is a district where they will be supported, they will be able to grow and develop their careers, and it's a place that they would want to be to teach. So I think that's important.
Thank you. Just to delve a little bit more, because this was a question that was asked, and I heard it kind of in your answers. In the light of future housing explosion that Hanover will experience in the very near future because of settlement agreements for the fair housing, shared housing, how will the school system cope with the increase while maintaining fiscal responsibility? Ms. Matee.
So as I mentioned before, we are in the process of evaluating all our structures and facility. Sorry. As I mentioned before, we are in the process of evaluating all our structures and facilities in anticipation of whatever growth we get through all the development in the town. And once we do that and figure where we can put everyone, depending on how many people we get, we may have to look at other options like clustering, regionalization, or realigning the homeschool districts. I know this town, we are set on our community school, our neighborhood schools, and they're a great thing, and we are probably going to try to do everything we can to keep them, and we may just have to look at switching boundaries a little to readjust.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's certainly an issue with the new developments and the growing population. And I remember being at the board meeting earlier this year where they were kind of talking about all the projections and how many new students would be coming in and which schools it would impact and how they were going to handle it. And it seems like there was a pretty good handle on it for now. And again, a lot of that is just projections and you don't really know what's going to happen, right? So, in terms of building and space, there's a limited amount you can do, and we could try to expand that. And like Trish said, looking at, changing, maybe the zoning and where different people go. At the end of the day, if there's more people that can fit in the building, there's only so much you can do, and changes will need to be made and adjustments made.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley?
So in 2018, I was a member of the Hanover Township Facilities Assessment Committee, and we went through all of our schools looking for projects that needed to be accomplished. Knowing that we had some things on the table for development, we identified some very large things that were not feasible to accomplish. This second committee is going to be really focused on space. We have a very desirable classroom size and a very low threshold by parents to increase that size. And it's to the betterment of the children to have those sizes. So we are going to do everything we can in assessing you know, all of our options with regionalization, clustering, all of those things need to be discussed and analyzed. I got this stop.
Thank you, Mr. Markinson. 1 minute.
So I think the biggest challenge is really planning and transparency, right? So I have heard some of these demographers' assessments. I am by no means an expert in projecting how many people, students are going to be joining our schools, over the next several years. But I do think it's valuable perhaps to, get some second opinions, right? Make sure that we're really doing, maybe we have, right? But I wouldn't know that. To make sure that we really have a great handle on it. And it's super important to have a couple actually concrete actionable plans with timelines against it so we can kind of plan and figure out what do we need to do. I do think, one of the challenges that as a community member that I've seen is a little bit on the transparency side because we don't know what the board has already thought of. I suspect they've already thought of half the stuff I just said, but until you guys get me in there, I won't know. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any 30-second response to anything? Well, then this is just if you want a yes or no follow-up to that, to each of you, and also Mr. Cullen, would you support a study of regionalization?
Yes, I think the study is fine.
Mr. Markinson?
I would support a study on regionalization.
Ms. Mattia?
I would also support a study. Looking into all options is a good thing.
Thank you, Ms. McSorley.
Yes, I would support a study.
Thank you. Next question. The special education program in Hanover Township is a concern of many parents. If elected, how would you strengthen special education in our schools and ensure children are placed in the least restrictive environment? Mr. Markinson, 1 minute.
So embrace, engage, evolve, right? So we're going to hear that a few times tonight. So embracing that challenge would require us to, dig into it, understand the concerns of parents. I am not an expert in special education. I would rely on our, administrators in the school, with respect to special education and or curriculum. And, if they advise us that, we may have gaps, we would look out for additional support, right? Figure out what are the models out there? How can we best support those needs within our community? It would be following the model, follow the 3 E's. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McSorley.
Special education is not my area of expertise by any means, but from what I have learned on the board, we do have a very strong team in our special education department, Mr. Margolis. I would assume that these placement options, if anytime a parent has an issue, you start with the person who can really affect your change. So Mr. Margolis would definitely be that person. And obviously, if we are not providing a specific service, I know that there are services that we take students in, and we also send our students out. The best interest of the child is always the founding principle.
Thank you, Ms. Mattea.
Hi, so again, I'm not a special education specialist either, but we do listen to parental concerns, we take them to heart, we discuss them in committee, but ultimately we rely on the administration and the educational professionals to make the recommendations, and there are legally binding timelines for assessing children and placement, et cetera, and things to determine where they're placed and when they're included. So again, I would rely on the educational professionals, but we as a board can make sure they have the resources to do the best they can for each and every student.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen? 1 minute.
Sure, I think special education first, I've had experience teaching classes, co-teaching, 504s, IEPs, and doing all that from the teaching perspective. And I'm personally vested with my children also in the special education program. So I think it's very important. And one thing we talked about earlier, talking about some of the challenges with COVID and some of the gaps that there might be for students and for learning, I think that's only magnified for the special education population. Thinking of an example that I've heard from a lot of parents, students with a speech delay that were wearing masks for 2 years and not being able to see the mouth movement and things like that. There's all students obviously struggled with those challenges, but I think it's magnified that much more. So I think there's a lot of good programs. I think our district does a good job. I think if they're using programs that are outside of the programs that Hanover Township uses, we may want to look into why they're using different programs, and maybe we could implement those as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to add 30 seconds? No. Okay, next question. COVID-19 has had a severe effect on children's socialization and emotional health. What can a district, and perhaps you as a board member, do to assist these children moving forward? Mr. Morkinson. 1 minute.
So I think the best things that we can do, within the district and within our schools is to really, continue to support social and emotional learning, right? Getting children to, continue to interact and to, kind of develop those skills for how they engage with each other, I think is super important. That's something that we can do. I think we can do more, offering, additional extracurricular types of activities to support that as well. I definitely acknowledge it as a challenge. And it's something that, we need to figure out how we can, weave these things in during the school day, during class, and potentially offer alternatives. In addition to kind of the, classic, extracurricular types of options, having, trained mental health professionals, available for, to provide services to our community, would benefit many people greatly.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, so I kind of started talking about this in my last answer, and obviously the effects of COVID apply to all students, teachers, really all of us. It wasn't something anyone was prepared for, and it's certainly been a challenge. So part of the challenge is that getting back to normal, right? There is a balance where we want to keep everyone safe, and that's important. And there was a while there that I don't think anyone really knew what the right thing to do was to keep everyone safe. And so now that we're kind of, quote unquote, back to normal, I think it's important to really focus on the social and mental well-being of all the students. Having the Mountain View Road PTA food truck festival and having all the kids there running around and doing all those things that they missed out on. There's nothing we can do to get back those years that we lost. All we can do is really focus on where we are now and what are the best ways we could support them going forward.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
Well, I was really excited to learn that in our current budget, we have extended our Care Plus contract to 5 days a week. So we have professionals in the building. We had a shared program with Madison last year, but the need was so great that we were able to extend that. Supporting social and emotional learning, it's all about providing resources. And we can't forget about our staff. They have been through a lot, and I think a comprehensive wellness program, it would be something of great benefit to this district, something that, teams up mentors and people going through the common life issues, divorce, or family being squeezed by parents and children at the same time.
Thank you, Ms. Mattia.
Thank you. So as a board, we have been working on this for quite a few years. We instituted guidance counselors in all the elementary schools a few years back as a start. We have a district initiative. The board's going to encourage the implementation of any programs and resources that will benefit the students and staff in Hanover. And again, as Mrs. McSorley said, the Care Plus initiative, We moved to 5 days a week this year, which we think will be very helpful for students and staff. And so this district is moving in the right direction. I feel like we're a little bit ahead of the curve because we implemented these things before COVID-19 started. So they are bedrock in our school, and we can just continue and build on that and then offer them as many resources as we can within budgetary constraints. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question was written by someone in the audience, and since we had one very similar that came through, I'm going to take the leeway if she or he doesn't mind in merging them. As a recently retired teacher, I am concerned with retaining teachers. What plan of action do you plan to put into effect to keep our teachers who are doing a great job, keep up their morale, and how would you propose recruiting new ones? Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
So teacher retention is a huge problem. We get about 10 retirees per year. That includes some other support staff as well. We do not want to find ourselves in a hole next year. And next year we are also negotiating the HTEA contract. I think that there are going to be some very interesting discussions, and I think that it is really, really important to make sure that our teachers feel valued, appreciated, and treated fairly. And I think that the way that you do that is by showing them respect, and I think that our district speaks for itself in terms of attracting talent. That's why we have people who work here for 40 plus years.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia, 1 minute.
Thank you. We are a very desirable district, and we do some great things here, and I hope this will continue going forward so that we can attract the best educators out there. Some ways I thought about retaining great teachers would be to provide leadership and growth opportunities, cultivate collaboration in the schools, create humanity in schools for students and teachers, solicit some teacher feedback and use it in our decision-making, plan for a better work-life balance, continue our alliance with local colleges and universities. That will help us attract quality teachers. Also, have quality mentors in the district for new teachers and student teachers, and build that support system that keeps quality educators from leaving. Hopefully, we don't have such a big turnover because it is such a hard spot to fill, and people are not going into teachers these days for various reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Markinson. 1 minute.
So I think it's a combination of our teachers and staff and administration in our community that makes us so great. We have a big problem. We have a big threat, right, with respect to retaining our amazing staff, and it's coming probably two-pronged. One is the great resignation that is happening across all markets, and then we also have I think some local challenges with respecting our staff and teachers. So we need to first ask them, right? It's often we think about all these great ideas, but sometimes they can tell you how they're going to feel better and how they're going to feel appreciated and what do they need, right? You may ask some new folks, you may ask some of the folks with more, I won't say old, more tenure, some of the more tenured folks, they'll give you ideas, they'll tell you what they need. And it's important for us to acknowledge that and to figure out ways that we can fulfill that. I heard a lot of great ideas, and I'm sure we'll have more. I'm stopped.
Thank you. Mr. Collin, 1 minute.
Thank you. So obviously, I think this is very important because I touched on this a little bit when they asked what the most pressing issue was facing the board, and that was the issue that I talked about. So I think that it is critical, and I'll add a few things to my previous comments. Part of attracting teachers and then retaining them is, as some of us already said up here, is making them feel valued. And as a teacher myself, and having spoken with a lot of my former colleagues and some teachers in our district and outside our district, at the end of the day, sometimes it's the little things when you talk about retention, right? What teachers need is time, right? They never have enough time, grade papers, write lesson plans, all those different things. And so it's the little things. A staff wellness day for professional development. They did that in a former district I used to work for, where it was the greatest day ever, where it was professional development and all the teachers would get to do all these fun things and just get a break from it all. And I think that's only been further exacerbated by COVID and just you're constantly on. It's hard for all of us now, for me working from home, right? You never know when to turn it off, right? You always have access to that computer, and all that virtual learning kind of made it even more challenging as far as time. So I think, there's some inherent problems that are not unique to our district that everyone needs to face. But then I think there's also those little things a lot of times go a long way to making someone feel valued and making them want to stay.
Thank you. Just a reminder that you do have that 30 seconds. I might not ask you after every question, but just keep that in mind. Okay, next question. Several members of the public have expressed a desire to implement hybrid, that is, in-person and Zoom, Board of Education meetings. Would you support this, and do you feel that anything more can be done to initiate it? Ms. Mattia?
Okay, so the board has already implemented this initiative. We ordered the equipment. It is coming in. We're waiting for installation dates. The board fully supports it, and we are just now waiting to get things installed. Thank you.
Ms. McSorley?
Well, basically what Trish said. Yeah, this was an initiative that was started before I got on the board, and we approved the purchase of the equipment. That was passed in April, I think, of this year, and with backlogs of supply chain, of course, we were affected by that as well. So we're looking forward to having it installed, and it is not just going to be for board meetings, but it will add value to this auditorium. We're installing it in here as well, so that other productions and concerts and graduations and things like that can also be shared with people at home.
Thank you. Mr. Morganson?
So I absolutely support, the use of, any form of equipment to do, a hybrid meeting, get folks engaged, as much as you possibly can. Just because they can't come doesn't mean they shouldn't be engaged. So I fully support it 100%. I do have some concerns that folks will fall a little flat, not the board installation of it, but, when so I've never been to a meeting. I want that virtual meeting. Let me get to that meeting. I think what they're going to find is, it's the way that the board operates with all the committees and all of the discussions that they have. A lot of things don't come to the forefront. And I think what we're going to find is it wasn't a hybrid meeting that was the biggest challenge, which we should have, right? It's 2022, almost 2023, we should have it. But, I think one of the challenges that we're really it's going to kind of bubble up is this word transparency. Now, I don't think anyone's hiding anything, right? That doesn't happen. But there's some things that the public makes assumptions about. Well, why didn't they think about X, or why didn't they think about Y? I think, there might be some opportunities to get a little bit more knowledge out there about, things that maybe that the board chose not to do, just so that there's some awareness that, yes, they did consider these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Got everybody right. Okay.
You didn't get it.
That's it.
No.
I didn't answer, I promise.
I apologize.
It's kind of hard to
My
follow, right?
apologies.
We already have the, as everyone said, we already have everything kind of in place. But obviously I support that. And as Evan said, in terms of transparency and just people, same as for this meeting, right? There's a lot of people I know that are viewing online or are going to view it after, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to do that for the board meetings as well, right? A lot of the people that want to attend the board meetings are the ones that have football practice or cheerleading practice or soccer practice, and they want to know what's going on. And sometimes it's not the same when you read the minutes, online after the meeting. You don't get the same feel. So I'm in support of it.
Thank you, and again, my apologies.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just want
Tia.
to, well, I'm not rebutting anything, I'm just building on something that Evan mentioned about, everyone throwing this transparency word around. So our Board of Education works on a committee structure. So we have different committees for different things, finance, transportation, public relations, and so we hash everything out in committees, and then it goes through that direct supervisor for a recommendation on the agenda. So full discussion is had by the full committee, and those minutes are disseminated to the rest of the board before the meeting for any discussion that they want to have. Sorry.
Thank you. So, okay, next question. If elected, how would you contribute to make sure the board meetings are run in an orderly manner and use the Robert's Rules of Order? Mr. Morkinson, 1 minute.
Follow Robert's rules. I guess we want more than that. But, in the end, it's all about, respect and having an orderly meeting. I think it's important that, the board is well familiar and well aligned. I'm not saying they're not, but, with, how that operates, what the expectations are of Robert's rules and how motions work and main motions and all that great stuff. And it's super important that there's a well-defined expectation from the observers, from the public that joins, so they understand, how the process works, what their, participation is, and what all those expectations are.
Thank you, Ms. Mateo.
Yes, so everyone is supposed to be following Robert's rules and having respect at the meetings, and we do make that very clear before the public comment section, but not so sure where the message gets lost. But board members are representatives of the community. The role of the Board of Ed is to see that the school district is run well. The superintendent is charged with running the schools. Written policies of the board provide guidance and direction to the chief school administrator for making decisions and taking action. Board members are supposed to participate responsibly, do their homework, come prepared to all meetings to work. They can agree, disagree, state their opinions, but in the end, the group decision is legitimate, even if it's not one's personal opinion. Our job is to serve in trust for the entire community. That means all constituencies. And once a majority vote is taken, the board moves forth in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Thank you. So just, I guess, to add on some things to that, obviously as an elected official, right, there's a certain expectation and way that one should carry oneself, in that position. And I think, hearing some of the words that are being used, talking about, respect and accepting of different views and things, I'm thinking of how, we're trying to teach our children that same thing, right? And our pillars of good citizenship, and essentially that's what we should be following, right? I think, maybe common sense, maybe not, but that's really what all we're asking of people, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. And if nothing else, right, especially if things are going to start being recorded and online and available, right, it's setting that good example for the children to see as well.
Thank you, Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
I think the best way to contribute to running things effectively is by participating in your committees with your full attention, doing your homework, coming prepared, and recognizing that you're just one voice out of 9, accepting that position, accepting that you're not always going to be in the majority. Your job is to set aside your personal feelings and act in the best interest of all students of Hanover Township.
Thank you. This is kind of in the same vein. Next question. A school board regularly faces issues that invite a diversity of strong opinions and passionate beliefs. How would you work to achieve consensus on the board? Ms. McSorley.
So getting consensus on the board is, basically you have to caucus, you have to express your opinion, you have to listen to other people's other opinions and try to come to some sort of an accord. Our committee meetings run very smoothly. We generally have, some discussion back and forth, but it's never contentious. And I think that is what needs to carry forth. And it can be achieved, and, everybody has to just put aside your personal views and just work for the kids.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think it's important to, kind of piggybacking on all the things that we just talked about, to different views are okay. And I feel like at some point in society, I'm not sure when, we decided that if someone doesn't think the same way as you, they become an enemy. And I don't know when or why that happened, but I don't think it needs to be that way, right? Different views are okay, and it's okay to have good conversation and open debate about it, right? That's a healthy thing, and there's no issue with that. But I think being a good listener and being receptive to what are the opposing views and why, because at the end of the day, I would think everyone has the same interest in mind, right? And that's what's in the best interest of the students, what's in the best interest of the community, and kind of keeping that in mind and just having that good dialogue, good communication, and ultimately, coming to that consensus. It's not always easy, and it's not about, personal views or political views or anything like that.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia?
Hi. Okay, so first and foremost, we're here for the kids. So it's really what's best for the students in Hanover Township. And being open-minded, being a good communicator, listening to what other people have to say, not just hearing it, listening to what they have to say, being receptive to someone's differing opinion, and then working towards a consensus from that. And it's okay to disagree respectfully, and it's okay to, have a different opinion. It's human nature, it's fine. It actually sparks conversation and discussion, and it may teach someone else something they didn't already know. So, and like everyone up here said, we're up here for the kids. That's why we're here. So, as long as we keep that focus and do what's best for them, not for us, not for a particular special interest group or anything, then we can move on. Sorry, stop.
Mr. Markinson, 1 minute.
So first and foremost, it's about making sure that, we all, recognize and, accept our roles, right, on the board. So it's really important that, we represent the community, we, and we want what's best, for the children in our schools. So active listening, huge thing, very important. Seek to understand what the other people are not just what they're saying, but what they mean, right? So don't be too quick to judge, work together, and try and get the best out of everything, right? A negotiation, I took this semester-long class in negotiation, and if you feel like you won, it was a terrible negotiation. You either lose a little, or you either both win, right? It can't be lopsided. If it's lopsided, we did something wrong. And I would also just add, consensus usually means 100%, and sometimes the board will not be 100% together on a given issue.
Thank you. Next question. Hanover just purchased the Journeys Basil Anthology Series for grades 3 and above. The surrounding districts are using Teachers College or level-based reading programs. Do you plan to look into the curriculum to make sure we are on the cutting edge of best practices in crucial academic areas? Ms. Mattia.
Hi. So we look to our educational professionals to make those decisions. I am not an expert on reading and language arts, and they do their research. The teachers review from all the publishers what's available out there, and we do what's best for the kids in Hanover. So I would leave it up to the director of curriculum and his team to choose what's best and move on his recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morganson. 1 minute.
I am not a specialist in, education or, reading. I actually echo that I would rely strongly on our director of curriculum, but I do think it's important to challenge at times, what's going on, perhaps enable them to consider alternatives, right? Perhaps enable, it's a lot of it's about resources, right? So the board, one thing they really have is the ability to influence resources. So, maybe enable them to, seek additional options, right? To review other options. But, in the end, I, as long as there is due diligence, I would fully trust our director of curriculum.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley?
We absolutely have 100% confidence in our director of curriculum. His process is very thorough, as we have witnessed in his special presentation in August. The board is not in the business of micromanaging the schools. So, we're ensuring that the schools are well run, and that means that the children have the appropriate curriculum provided to them. So, whatever is recommended by the curriculum director, as well as reviewed by the curriculum committee, that is what the board should be providing to the students.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. So with my background, I think the curriculum committee would definitely be one of the main areas that I could bring some of my expertise to the table. I spent many summer rewriting curriculum back in my day, and I kind of know what that's all about, and I understand it. So, one thing, I think it's important to always be open to new models and new ways of doing things and new ways that are out there. And then I would also caution that sometimes new isn't necessarily better, and sometimes change just for the sake of change or because it's the new shiny toy doesn't necessarily equate to being more effective for the students. So kind of echoing what some of the other candidates up here said, is, at the end of the day, it's what is best for the students, what's going to help them reach, their potential. And, if it's a new curriculum, that's fine, but if the one that's there is working, then that's okay too.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How will you make sure that you adhere to the rules, regulations, and laws that are required of school board members? Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
Well, there are many rules. There's a whole code of ethics. I was actually quite surprised that when we took the oath of office, that it's the same oath of office that the governor takes. So it really drives home the importance of following that ethics law. Leaving partisanship at the door, not carrying with you an agenda, and obviously, we're members of the community, but we are now elected officials. The standard is higher, and I feel that warrants us conducting ourselves in a way that befits the office.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 1 minute.
Yes, I agree. And I think, a lot of these questions kind of have a lot of similar tones to them, and I'll try to come up with a different way to answer it. But essentially, as an elected official, right? There's a certain expectation there. There's a certain level of professionalism, and that's how you're expected to carry yourself. Now, I probably have to read up on the specific code of ethics. I haven't read through the whole thing, but if elected, I would be sure to do so and learn a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's acting in a way, being a good citizen, doing all the things, like I said earlier, that we're trying to teach our students to do.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia.
So I will echo what both my fellow candidates said. We do have a code of ethics. We do take an oath of office. It is taken very seriously. Not to let your political views affect your Board of Ed decisions. You know, I'm sitting on the board to do what's best for all the students, staffs, and families in Hanover Township. Having everyone succeed is what makes our schools and towns so great. So, yeah, there are mandates, code of ethics, and oath of office that all board members are expected to abide by. We may not always agree on all the issues, but we need to work together to ensure the best possible outcome for all students in our district. And when you're on the board, again, professional decorum, you don't lose your individuality, but you are always a board member. I mean, you can say you're not a board member or you're doing this because as an individual, but you're still always seen as a board member.
Thank you, Mr. Markinson.
So I think it's really important that, all the board members, understand the various, requirements placed upon them, laws, regulations, et cetera. It's important that we all behave in a similar manner. Coming in as a new board member, I would certainly take advantage of all the SBA resources that are available to help train new board members. There's a lot out there. It's important to play by the same set of rules, right? I think, without kind of expanding the scope of the question, I think that would be, my take on it. And just, be professional and be nice.
Thank you. Question. Have you accepted any money or donations in kind for this campaign from a political party or PAC? If we could just go down, Mr. Cohen.
No, I have not.
Mr. Markinson.
So these are just yes, no answers.
Yeah, well, no, you have a minute.
You have a minute.
I'm sorry, yes, I'm just gonna go down the line.
You did a yes or no
Sorry.
earlier.
Nope.
No, I have not, don't plan to. I'm running for the Board of Ed, I'm not a politician.
Mr. Markinson.
No, I have not. I do think it's, exceptionally important that, the Board of Education remains a nonpartisan, local unit, right? We have our own challenges. We want to solve them for ourselves. Any form of kind of, partisan, take usually involves other benefactors, right? There's usually some other agenda or thing that they want to get out of it. So once you start bringing in other people, other parties, whichever parties it may be, I'm not going to name the parties. It really kind of taints your participation in being able to represent our community fairly and doing what's best for us. So let's not vote for a PAC. Let's not vote for Republicans or Democrats. Let's vote for our kids and let's vote for our town.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia?
No, I have not accepted any money or in-kind donations from any political organization, nor am I affiliated with any political organization.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley?
No, I have not, and I have no intention to.
Thank you. Next question. How will you educate yourself about the new health and physical education standards and other curriculum? Mr. Markinson, 1 minute.
The best way to learn about the curriculum is to review the curriculum. So that is where I would start. If I had questions on it, of course, I would, as a board member, would probably, direct them to, of course, to our director of curriculum. I do feel like it's a bit of a moot point given, at least today, this year, the here and now. We never know if it might be a problem in the future. But, based on how, the administration, the process they took for keeping our curriculum the same, yet realigning it to the state standard, gave me a lot of confidence as a parent that it was going to be fine, and, really squashed any concerns for me.
Thank you, Ms. Mattia.
So as a board member, we review the curriculum. We have access to most of the things that we're going to purchase. So I would review the curriculum as I do in all the subject areas. And, you know, I think sometimes parents are a little cloudy on standards versus curriculum versus lesson plans. So the standards are what's mandated down by the state. The curriculum is what we write in district to meet our district needs. And then lesson plans are the teachers. And that's what they do in their classroom, and that's their business, their personnel matters, because they're reviewed by their direct supervisors. So that would be a start, and if we have any questions, we ask the director of curriculum. He's very helpful, he'll explain everything. He'll give us the pros and cons of each of the different programs that we're looking at for each of the different subject matters, and why the teachers reviewed them and chose what they did.
Ms. McSorley, 1 minute. Thank you.
I think by now, everybody is quite familiar with the health curriculum in Hanover Township. I think that it's important for the board members to be familiar with the curriculum, to know what our children are being taught. However, again, we don't decide what the curriculum is. That is the job of our professionals. And, you know, we go based on their recommendations, and that's about it.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen?
Sure, so to answer the question, right, the best way to familiarize yourself with it is to read it, right? So, you know, I went online and read the standards, read the curriculum, and I think Trish brought up a good point in terms of understanding the difference between the standards versus the curriculum versus lesson plans, and I think that's important. And, you know, in this case, you know, speaking specifically to the health and phys ed standards, I think I can certainly understand why there was a lot of confusion, just the way that whole, you know, scenario went down. You know, for me, and I'm still confused by this when I was reading it online, to call something an expectation, but then, oh no, it's only a suggestion, to me, that's just confusing, right? So I understand where the cloudiness is and why there is confusion and why parents have questions, and I think it's important that they do question it. And so I think I can certainly understand that.
Thank you. So this is kind of a follow-up to that regarding the new standards. So certainly there's some new language that's expected to be taught to children on gender role, other body parts that parents might find objectionable. What do you say to them if they would rather not have their children taught those new standards? Mr. Cullen.
I finally get to go first. We waited for the good question. No, so obviously, you know, this is a big hot topic, and like I kind of just said in my previous answer, I understand, you know, where, you know, some of the confusion lies, right? I think the state was a little confused in terms of how they initially presented it and then how it kind of changed. And, you know, we hear Superintendent Wasco talk about the amount of latitude and things that the state is allowing kind of in response to some of that feedback or pushback or whatever the case may be. So I certainly understand that. And I think at I agree in some cases where there are some, you know, expectations that are suggestions that I would question whether they are age appropriate or developmentally appropriate. Just looking at, I know my children in kindergarten and second grade, some of those things I know they wouldn't be able to understand or grasp, and it's going to be really confusing to them. So I understand that, but at the same time, I think the district did a good job saying that we are going to continue to do things the way that we have been doing them, and I think that's a good thing.
Thank you. Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
I understand why parents were so shocked by some of the language that was being circulated. It is shocking. But the thing is that the students have learned the same material for years, and parents have always been able to decline. That's what Mr. Wasco had said from April all through the summer, But there was a lack of trust in what he was saying was true, which was unfortunate because I think it just perpetuated some misunderstandings. So, parents have always been able to decline. Very, very few people have ever chosen to decline to have their children participate in the health curriculum. I applauded Mr. Wasserman for giving a great presentation, explaining the realignment, and, I got to stop.
You can finish your sentence.
I forgot what I was saying now.
Ms. Mattia?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, I kind of joined that. So the new standards have language that parents,
Okay.
how would you address that?
Okay, so, the parents have the opportunity to opt out. It's fill out a form for 4th and 5th grade and 8th grade. So in 4th and 5th grade, there are 2 40-minute periods per school year. And they can opt out, and it's not a problem. We've been doing it for 30 years, and it remains the same. And same goes for 8th grade. They have it for 1 marking period, but they don't teach it the entire marking period, but they can opt out for the specific classes where it is being taught. So Mr. Wasserman very stringently and specifically went through the whole thing, and I'm hoping it gained some trust of the community who was really not happy. But the focus of the health curriculum is to teach empathy, understanding, kindness, and acceptance, and to respect individuals and their cultural differences or any other differences, that not everyone is like you, and that's okay.
Thank you. Mr. Markinson?
So to start with, we rely on our director of curriculum to make sure the curriculum is what is best suited for our community. We rely on our curriculum committee to work with them and, recommend that we approve that curriculum. So we're gonna have something that's best suited for Hanover Township. I have 100% confidence. And we've all said having the opt-out is that final option, for our parents. In the end, I do believe parents are our children's best advocates. No one besides me and my wife will best advocate for my children. But having that opt-out option is our way to pull them out if we want to. I applaud the district for the extra attention that they gave the issue. Special meetings, lots of extra work for people, and having those opt-outs at all levels really should satisfy any concerns.
Thank you. If a child
Can I have a
Mr.
rebuttal? Sorry. No, I went.
Thank you.
But can I have a rebuttal?
Of course you may. 30 seconds.
So I just want to say that I do believe in parental rights, and I think the lack of trust, it wasn't the fault of the district, but it also wasn't the fault of the parents, because there's a problem coming down from the state level where what they're saying what the standard says doesn't jive with what the district is saying, right? So we're going to keep doing it the Hanover way, but that's not what the standard says. So parents have every right to kind of stand up for that and try to understand, well, why is there a discrepancy there, right? And that's the state's fault, but it needs to be addressed, right?
Yes, Mr. Markinson, 30 seconds.
And I'd like to add that we really need to keep it local, right? A lot of these problems, a lot of the sensationalism about the sex ed curriculum came from outside of Hanover Township, right? And it got people scared, it got people concerned. I think they addressed it well, but again, let's keep it local. Let's focus on the Hanover agenda, right? Not any other agenda.
Thank you. What else? If a child identifies as transgender, gay, or has same-sex parents, how do you think the school system, Board of Ed, can support that child and their family? Ms. McSorley, 1 minute.
We're charged with educating all children, doesn't matter. I think that we have a great support system in our schools, who will personally, come up with whatever plans that need to be in place to make sure that that child gets the education they deserve from Hanover Township.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia?
So yeah, as Mrs. McSorley said, we're a public school. We're here to have every student learn in a safe environment. So I have confidence in our administration that they will supply what the child or family needs to keep them safe and learning and excelling in our school system. I mean, we do great things here. We have great resources. We'll put in place whatever's needed to be put in place to have the student do the best that they can.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen?
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's obviously important, and I think the districts have always, all the schools in the district have always done a good job in terms of, I think that comes down to the pillars of good citizenship and those things that we teach in terms of respect and acceptance, and it's okay for people to be different from you, and I think all of those are good things, and I think we've always done those things. And that's, I guess, part of the challenge is, the new standards kind of brought a lot of attention to it, and a lot of it are things that we're already doing, but again, I come back to, just because I was getting cut short, right? Some of the language that's in there isn't the same as that, where it's not at the right band, or all those things where the state kind of, probably didn't do the best job, right, of how they put it out. But at the end of the day, right, the message is the same, and it's the same thing Hanover's already been doing. So when we talk about the Hanover way and the way we've been doing it, I've seen firsthand my kids, when they come home, I know the respect and acceptance that they're learning, and it's effective.
Thank you. Mr. Markinson? 1 minute.
So I would expect that student population to receive the same phenomenal education about the rest of the student population, right? So at first glance, it's, of course, they're going to be fine. But I do think it's super important, right, that we, take a critical look, on an ongoing basis about how our, varied, population, students and staff, how they feel received or how they are supported by our district, right? There was once upon a time, we probably had this same meeting 30, 40 years ago, and we didn't have as much character education. We didn't have the diversity programs. We didn't have these things to help everyone feel like they're in a safe environment and get the most they can out of their education. So I do think we'll continue to evolve there. I think there's some more that we can do. I'm not saying I know if I have a specific plan, but I think we do a great job. And I think as long as we keep focusing on, what everyone's needs are, we'll continue to adapt and we'll continue to inspire excellence.
Thank you. And that ends the questions. Thank you, everybody who sent in those questions. I mean, we've covered a lot of territory, and you got to hear from the candidates tonight about what might happen with the new housing, the new curriculum, special education, how to run a meeting, student emotional and physical health, teacher recruitment, and other issues. So I thank everyone who sent in those questions and for the candidates for responding. So we're going to go to wrap up. Everyone gets 1 minute, and we're going in reverse order. So Ms. McSorley, you have 1 minute to respond.
Well, I want to thank our sponsors again for hosting and giving the voters of Hanover Township this opportunity to learn more about their candidates for Board of Education. In years past, members could be elected with a few hundred write-in votes, but not anymore. I encourage you all to make your choices carefully and focus on what matters most: the students of Hanover Township. We don't need to be taking our cues from other towns, states, or national platforms. We're a small town, and we should be focusing on our own issues and working together to solve them. I'm not running for BOE with any ulterior motive. I'm not a politician. I have one goal: to make sure our schools are well run, and I think I have skills and experience that can assist in that endeavor. To that end, we need to elect 3 people without agendas who have experience in the district and embrace the spirit of nonpartisanship to do what's best for the kids.
Thank you. Ms. Mattia.
Hi. So again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and the Hanover Eagle, and the community members who came out this evening for the opportunity to speak in this professional forum. Serving as a Board of Education member is a responsibility that I take very seriously, as it entails so much more than the public meetings that you have attended. We are charged with shaping and managing a district that already has a reputation for excellence, as well as looking to the future to always offer the most cutting-edge educational practices. Board members set the tone for the district and should be a reflection of our wonderful community while keeping our children and teachers front and center in our decision-making. Board members are not politicians, and the Board of Education has no place for a political agenda. Not only do we have a great responsibility to our district, but we also have a similar responsibility to our residents, working to make common sense decisions that help to keep taxes low and our home values high. The school taxes in Hanover make up a large percentage of your annual tax bill, and prudent, sensible management of district funds, including those provided through state funding, is critical to maintain the way of life as we know it in Hanover. I'm more than up to the challenge. Don't forget to vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Markinson.
Thank you again for this opportunity. You know, it's no question in anyone's mind now that I support our community, our schools, our kids, our parents. I'm all in, right? But let's just make sure that we don't forget, our Board of Education election is not a referendum on national or state politics. It's actually, this year, a referendum on Hanover Township. Everyone knows we're great. They want to be here. We know we're great. Let's continue being great, right? Vote for great schools, vote for low taxes. Raise your hand and show us that you love Hanover Township, and we'll continue inspiring excellence. So it's disheartening when we bring in these other concerns that are not local. We really need to keep it local. Why would we not have folks here? The Morris County Republican Committee said we can't have candidates here tonight, so we don't have them. We have folks that won't engage with our local HTEA because they disagree with state NJEA concerns and unions and things like that. Let's keep it here. Stopped. I wasn't paying attention. Vote for Evan.
You're allowed to. I'm not that strict. You can finish your sentence.
That red stop sign.
My kids don't think so. Okay, Mr.
So
Cullen,
just
1
to
minute.
wrap up, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I think it's important, as some of the other candidates have said, it's important for us to have some of these conversations and talk about these things. We talked about a lot. I wish we had more time to talk more because I think it's important. I think that dialogue is important, and I appreciate the opportunity to be up here and speak to you guys. At the beginning, I kind of got cut off right as I was about to say what the main areas of focus of my campaign include, and then it got cut off and you're giving me another sign. So some of the main areas of focus for me, one, I do respect parental rights. I do want to retain and attract high quality teachers. I do want to focus not only on special education, which we talked about, but also gifted and talented programs and making sure we're challenging the students that are in those areas. School safety and security, I think, is paramount. And it's something that we always need to have on our minds and make sure that we're on top of. And something we've also talked about a lot today is mental and social health in a post-COVID world. And we can't take back that time, but we need to make sure we do everything we can going forward. I appreciate everyone coming out, and thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters of Morristown area, the NAACP of Morristown, and the Hanover Eagle for co-sponsoring tonight. Thanks to the candidates and the audience for attending, and we hope you found it informative. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, and get home safely.
I'm back for a moment. So first of all, thank you for everyone that came out. We thought we'd really have a low turnout because of the rain and you can watch it. So thank you for the people in the audience. Again, thank you for the candidates. Thank you for Vicky Sidro, our league moderator, our timer, Annette Tyler, she is strict. Volunteers who helped, to Brett from the Hanover Eagle and Vanessa. And just remember to make your vote count and vote in the election on Tuesday, November 8th, and ask 3 of your friends to vote, because that's the best way to get people to vote when you say, did you vote yet? And the deadline to register is October 18th. So if you're doing it online, do it by October 18th. If you're doing a paper ballot, it's got to be received by October 18th. Vote by mail ballots have been sent already, so I have stickers outside if anybody wants one that says I voted by mail. Because you don't go to the polls and get them, so we have stickers for that. And if you want to apply for a vote by mail ballot, it must be received by the county clerk by November 1st. If you're mailing it, it has to be received in the office. And again, you can find applications online. We have them at the table outside if you're in person. Let me just make sure you can vote early in person on a voting machine. That's new. This is the second year they're doing it. It's from October 29th to November 6th. And there's a limited number of polling locations. They're open during the week from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on the week, Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 6. And the closest, from what I can tell, is Hanover Community Center, which is on 15 North Jefferson Road. For early voting, you can vote anywhere within your county. You don't have to go to your specific polling location. Please visit lwvnj.org or vote411.org for information, and our website, which is lwvmorrisarea.org. And again, we have some upcoming events, which I've mentioned. And now the legal stuff, okay? The content of the forum is owned, I have to get this up higher. The content of the forum is owned by the League of Women Voters. Only the League may record this forum. Our recording is available for viewing on the Morristown Area League YouTube channel and website. We encourage you to share the link, but remind you that the recording can only be shared in its entirety. It cannot be downloaded, and footage may not be edited in any way, and hopefully I will get it out tonight or tomorrow morning to link to all the candidates so you can share it. It's my job to do that. And I think that's where, thank you all. We're done tonight.
Thank you very much.
And I don't know if anybody, we're gonna let you take pictures, I think. Anybody else take a picture? And then we offered that in the top. If you want to take a picture, please come up.